ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Namaste, my dear friends. I am going to start videos on Sri Tripura Rahasya, a Advaita Vedanta treatise. Maharshi Ramana used to emphasize on reading this great treatise on Vedanta. Sri Tripura Rahasya is an ancient work in Sanskrit which has been printed all over India. The latest and best edition was brought out in the Kasi Sanskrit series in 1925. The book is said to have been printed once before and issued in loose leaves. There was also an edition in book form printed in Belgaum towards the end of last century. The esteem in which the work is held for its sanctity may be gauged from an account of it given in the preface to the Mahatmya Khanda. Mahadeva originally taught the highest truth to Vishnu, who in turn taught Brahma in the celestial regions. Later, Vishnu incarnated on earth as Sri Dattatreya, the Lord of the Avadhutas, the naked sages, and taught it to Parshurama with the added injunction that it should be communicated to Harityana, who could later seek the truth from him. Parshurama thus realized the self by the guidance of Sri Datta and dwelt on the Malaya hill in South India. In the meantime, a Brahmin by name Sumanta, living on the banks of the Saraswati, had a son Alarka by name, who used to hear his mother be called Jai Ai by his father. Being a child, he too addressed his mother I. He died in his childhood, and his last words on his deathbed were I, Only this sound is, however, sacred to the goddess, having been uttered in all innocence and purity of mind. It conferred unexpected merit on the dying child. He was later born as Sumedha, a son to Haritha. Harityana is his patronymic. His spirituality developed as he grew up, and he sought Parshurama to learn the highest good from him, who in turn imparted to him the knowledge which he had gained from Dattatreya. Parshurama told him also that his master had predicted the compilation of the knowledge of the highest truth by Harityana for the benefit of mankind. Harityana was worshipping Sri Meenakshi in the temple at Madurai in South India. Narada appeared to him and said that he had come from Brahmaloka in order to see what Harityana was going to present to the world in the form of an itihasa containing the supreme spiritual truth. Harityana was bewildered and asked how the saint expected it of him. Narada said there was an assembly of saints in Brahmaloka. Markandeya asked Brahma about the sacred truth. Brahma said that it would be brought out by you in the form of a holy book. So I came to ask you about it. Harityana was at a loss and pleaded inability to reproduce the sacred truth learned from Parsurama. Narada then meditated on Brahma, who appeared before them and asked what the matter was. When Narada put the whole matter before him, he turned to Harityana and blessed him, endowing him with the ability to produce the book at the rate of 4 chapters a day. He also referred to Harityana's past and attributed his present inability to remember what he learned to the casual and indisciplined utterance of sacred syllable in his past incarnation. Brahma further enjoined Narada to be the first to read Harityana's work when it was completed. The work was thus written by Harityana and is also called after his name Harityana Samhita. It is said to consist of 12,000 slokas in 3 sections. The Mahatmya Khanda section on the great name of Sri Devi, Jnana Khanda section on supreme wisdom, and Charya Khanda section on conduct. Of these, the first consists of 6,687 slokas, the second of 2,163 slokas, and the third is not traceable. The section on greatness contains the prelude to the work and later treats mostly the manifestations of the Supreme Being as Durga, Kali, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Lalita, Kumari, etc., and their exploits found in Brahmanda Purana, Markandeya Purana, and Lakshmi Tantra. Its contents mostly cover the ground of Durga, Saptasati, and of Lalita Upakh- Upakhyana. Sri Vidya, worship of the Supreme Being as Goddess, has a very holy tradition traced to the Vedas. There are two principal divisions known as Kadya Vidya and Hadya Vidya. The former was practiced by Indra, Chandra, Manu, Kubera, etc. It is the simpler of the two and also more common. The other was practiced by Lopamudra and approved of the wise. Tripura Rahasya, otherwise Harityana Samhita, begins with Om Namah, salutation to Om, and ends with Sri Tripurayi Hrim. Tripura is only Hrim. Om is well known as the sacred syllable signifying the highest being in the abstract. Harim is the sacred symbol of the same as the goddess. The contents of the book are thus enclosed by these two symbols, the most sacred in the Vedas, and this text is equally sanctified. In Sutra Bhashya, the commentary on Brahma Sutras, Sri Sankara has used the story of Samvarta as found in Tripura Rahasya in his commentary on Apich Samaryate, Apika Samaryate, sutra with approval. There is a lucid commentary in Sanskrit on Hrityana Samhita. It is named Tatparya Deepika and written in 4932 of Kali era, that is 1831 AD, by one Dravida Srinivasa, son of Vyadyanatha Dikshita of the village of Mahapuskara in South India. As for its philosophy, there is no real reason to distinguish it from Vedanta. Scholars, however, call this system the Tantri or the Sakta and point out some apparent differences between this and Advaita Vedanta. This system teaches that the supreme reality is no other than abstract intelligence. Intelligence signifies self luminosity, and abstraction denotes its unlimited nature. No other agent can be admitted to exist apart from it in order to reveal it. The apparent variety is only due to vimarsa, the gross aspect of its absolute freedom known as Svatantra, which at times unfolds the pure self as the cosmos and at other times withdraws itself and remains unmanifest. Abstraction and manifestation are inherent in the pure self. These two aspects are given the names Shiva and Sakti, respectively. There cannot be manifestation beyond the supreme intelligence. Therefore, cosmos and the self are only the same, but different modes of reality. Realization of the truth is thus quite simple, requiring only constant remembrance on these lines. Anusandhanam, that really reality is not incompatible with the world and its phenomena, and that the apparent ignorance of this truth is itself the outcome of reality, so that there is nothing but reality. Creation and dissolution are cycles of self expression and abstraction due to Satantra. There are no sankalpa, vikalpas, modifications in the state of dissolution, and the self remains as chit in absolute purity and unchanging. The self is uniform and undivided. The dispositions of the individuals of the previous kalpa creation remain uncognized but potential, awaiting to become manifest in the alternating mode. The tendency in the direction of manifestation is Maya, which later displays as avidya, ignorance, when the predispositions are in their full swing. Chit, Maya, and Avidya are thus the same reality. Cosmos is an expression in the medium of consciousness and thus not unreal as some would have it. Here, the reality of the cosmos is on account of the medium of expression, that is, consciousness, which does not contradict the statement that forms, etc., are unreal. There is thus no fundamental difference between Tantra and Vedanta. Yet the Pandits say that Maya is made subservient to Brahma in Vedanta, that its application is limited to gross manifestation, and that it is therefore gross, which in ultimate analysis resolves itself into void, whereas according to Tantra, Maya is an aspect of reality and should resolve itself into Chit on ultimate analysis. This cannot be a valid objection, for where does the above void rest? It must resolve itself into Chit. The favorite example of the world being an image reflected in consciousness as images in a mirror is common. So this is the introduction of this great treatise on Vedanta. In the next video we will start the actual treatise, that is Tripura Rahasya. Thank you for watching this video. Namaskar, my dear friends. Thank you. Tripura Rahasya is one of the most important book which was subscribed by Maharshi Ramana to his devotee. Tripura Rahasya, of which says Haritayana is the author, is said to consist of 12,000 verses in three sections. One Mahatm Khanda dealing with the greatness of goddess Tripura in 6,687 verses. 2. Gyan Khanda dealing with supreme knowledge in 2,163 verses. And 3. Karya Khanda dealing with the conduct of a worshipper. The last mentioned section of the work is not traceable. The present translation of the section on knowledge is based on the excellent commentary on the work called Dipika, written in the year 1831 AD by a great scholar and initiate of the Sri Vidya school of Sakta named Sri Nivasa, hailing from South India. Though the work is affiliated to the Sakta school of worship, the philosophy expounded in it is absolutely colorless, without any sectarian stamp, religious or intellectual. In fact, this work is of as much importance to Saktas of the Sri Vidya school as Yoga Vasishta is to Vedantins. Without entering into dialectical disputations, if one should dispassionately examine the philosophy and the methodology of both the works, he may find a lot of similarities. The ultimate goal of both the works is the same, with the realization of the non-dual self, which is pure consciousness. A brief account of the background of the work may be relevant here. Says Haritayana narrates to Rishi Narada the teachings of the great ascetic Dattatreya to Parsurama, the famous personality of the Itihasas and Puranas. These teachings constitute the entire work. Parsurama was first initiated into the worship of goddess Tripura by Dattatreya. After sincerely practicing the daily rituals and other disciplines of an initiate for 12 years, serious doubts arise in the mind of Parsurama regarding human life, the universe, and the way to lasting happiness. He again approaches Dattatreya for clearing his doubts, seeing that Parsurama's mind, having been purified by his religious disciplines, is fit for the highest knowledge. Dattatreya reveals to him the way to enlightenment through many fabulous and interesting stories interspersed with the liberating knowledge. There are a few fundamental differences between the philosophy of the non-dual self presented in this work and that of the traditional teachers like Gaudapada and Sankara. But from the points of view of the means adopted and the end realized, there is no difference. One here reflects on and practices the teachings of a scripture solely for the attainment of the fruit, which is cessation of all sorrow and liberation from bondage. Tripura Rahasya serves this purpose as indicated in the following verses in the first chapter. 3. I shall tell you now the most wonderful section on knowledge, having heard which a man never again comes to grief anywhere. 4. This scripture has been well ascertained after considering thoroughly the wisdom of the Vedika, Vaisnava, Seva, Sakta, and Pasupata lore. Fifth, nothing else would ascend or get at one's heart like this wisdom teaching as ascertained by the preceptor Sri Dattatreya for his disciple Bhargava 6 and 7. This scripture is abundantly made interesting with stories and is endowed with reasoning and perceptibility. If someone of deluded understanding does not know the truth, even by what is told here, he is absolutely ill-fated and is only an inert pillar without doubt. He cannot have knowledge even if ascertained by Lord Shiva in person. No further words are needed to bring out the importance and usefulness of this work to persons aspiring to realize God, who is the non-dual self. The translator has attempted a faithful translation of the verses without sacrificing their exact sense, as brilliantly expounded by the commentator Srinivasa in his Tatparya Deepika. In the opinion of the translator, paraphrases or free renderings, especially without the text being given alongside, do not help in appreciating the depth and import of the teachings. Sometimes they mislead rather than enlighten. However, a little translation may not sometimes be quite readable due to difference in the idioms of Sanskara and English. Notwithstanding this limitation, the translator has attempted a faithful translation without offending the English idiom. Very much explanatory notes have been added where necessary. The translator firmly believes that this work is capable of guiding a spiritual aspirant in his path if approached with eagerness and reverence. He was drawn to this work after coming to know that Sri Ramana Maharshi, one of the greatest sages of the 20th century, spoke approvingly of this work and recommended it to his devotees. He hopes that this translation, along with text, will be welcomed by students of Vedanta as well as Agama or Tantra philosophy. Thank you for watching this video. Namaskar, my dear friends. Thank you.